The last day of school is usually filled with excitement, laughter, and yearbook signatures. But for me, it became a haunting memory that I still can't fully explain. My name is Haley Carter, and I was a senior at Brookside High. I thought I was walking into my last day of school with hope, freedom, and the future ahead of me. Instead, I walked into something I wouldn't wish on anyone, not even my worst enemy. It started out like any other end-of-school celebration. Our principal, Mr. Dobbins, gave a short, cheerful speech in the auditorium. Streamers hung from the ceilings, and people were tossing around graduation caps early. My best friend, Claire Bennett, sat beside me, scribbling something in my yearbook. "One last memory before we're out of here," she whispered, nudging me with her elbow. I smiled, pretending to be as carefree as everyone else, but something had felt off all morning. A kind of heaviness hung in the air. The hallways felt quieter despite the buzz of celebration. And the teachers, many of whom had been friendly and warm all year, seemed distracted, distant, even fearful. We had one last assignment to turn in for Mr. Hawthorne's English class before being officially dismissed. That class was down in the older wing of the school, what we all called the Old South Hall. It used to be the original part of Brookside High back in the 1940s before they built new wings. Most students hated going down there. The walls were cracked, the lockers rusted, and it always smelled faintly like mold and dust. "Let's just get it over with," Claire said as we headed down the dim hallway with a few other classmates. Only a few lights flickered overhead as we stepped into Mr. Hawthorne's classroom. The strange thing was, he wasn't there. His desk was empty, and the room was unusually cold. "Maybe he left our final grades on the desk," suggested Josh Miller, one of the guys from our class. We stepped farther in. There were 3 desks tipped over and several papers strewn across the floor, like someone had left in a hurry. A strange scratching sound came from the vents near the back of the room. Everyone looked at each other, unsure whether to laugh or be creeped out. "Mr. Hawthorne?" Claire called. No answer. That's when someone noticed the blood. Not a lot, just a smear, like a palm had pressed against the edge of the desk and dragged slightly before disappearing onto the floor. We all froze. "Is this some kind of prank?" I asked. But no one answered. Josh tried the door to the back supply room. It was locked. "Mr. Hawthorne? Are you okay?" Again, nothing. I started to get that hollow feeling in my chest. I didn't want to admit it, but something was seriously wrong. Suddenly, the door slammed behind us. Hard. We all screamed. Claire rushed to the door, trying to pull it open. It wouldn't budge. Josh pounded on it and shouted down the hallway, but no sound seemed to echo back. It was as if the hallway had vanished. My phone had no service. Then, the lights began to flicker, and not just in that annoying way old bulbs do. It was rhythmic, almost intentional. On, off, on, off. Then full darkness. We stood huddled in the dark. I could hear Claire's breathing next to me. Someone whispered a prayer. Something shuffled across the back of the room. Then a whisper. Low and raspy. "Stay quiet." I froze. It hadn't come from anyone in our group. Claire gripped my hand tightly, her nails digging into my skin. Then came the sound of dragging. Something, or someone, was being pulled across the floor in the back supply room. The lock on the door rattled, then clicked open on its own. The supply room door creaked open slowly, revealing pitch-black darkness inside. No one moved. Josh finally gathered the courage to whisper, "We need to get out of here. Now." He grabbed a chair and slammed it against the classroom door. It barely dented the wood. Claire took out her phone and tried the flashlight, but it flickered, then died. Mine wouldn't even turn on. Suddenly, from the supply room, a figure stepped out. It wasn't Mr. Hawthorne. At least, not anymore. What we saw was a tall, pale man with eyes sunken deep into his skull and a mouth that looked far too wide for his face. His skin was gray, like dried paper, and stretched unnaturally tight over his bones. His hands were long and thin, ending in sharp, claw-like fingers. It let out a hiss, then charged. We screamed and scattered, pushing desks over and diving for cover. It moved fast, unnaturally fast, and grabbed one of the students, Anna Fields, dragging her toward the supply room. She screamed until the door slammed shut again. The rest of us scrambled toward the windows, trying to break them, but they wouldn't shatter. It was like we were trapped in another dimension. "What is happening?" Claire sobbed. "That thing, it's not human." Josh turned to me, his face pale. "There's an old story about this wing of the school. They say a teacher went insane back in the 1960s and disappeared with 5 students. None of them were ever found. They shut this wing down for years, then reopened it like nothing ever happened." "Are you serious?" I asked, backing away from the supply room. He nodded. "That wasn't a ghost. That was whatever's left of him." Suddenly, the whisper came again. Closer this time. 2 more. Claire grabbed my hand and whispered, "We can't stay here." We all rushed toward the hallway again, and this time the door flew open on its own. The hallway was pitch black, but it was our only way out. We ran. Down the hallway, through the lockers, past the empty trophy cases, until we reached the stairwell. The lights above flickered, and then that same horrifying figure appeared at the top of the stairs. Claire screamed. "Downstairs. Now!" Josh yelled. We rushed down 2 flights and burst into the boiler room. Another mistake. The door locked behind us. This room was worse. The walls were wet. The ceiling dripped. Pipes hissed from unseen leaks. That's when we saw them. Faces. 5 of them. Pressed against the wall like they were part of it. Their eyes were hollow. Mouths stretched in eternal screams. The missing students? Claire dropped to her knees. "We're going to die here." "No," I said. "We're going to fight." We found metal rods near the old boilers and used them to break the small basement window. Josh helped Claire through first, then me. As he was crawling through, the creature appeared behind him, grabbing his ankle. He turned, screamed, and jammed the metal rod into its chest. It let out a screech, then evaporated into mist. Josh stumbled through the window. We landed on the grass outside, panting and shaking. It was morning again. Bright. Warm. The school looked normal. Windows intact. Sun shining. But Mr. Hawthorne was never seen again. Neither was Anna. When we told the police, they investigated, but the old wing was clean. No blood. No evidence. No record of Anna even being at school that day, according to their files. As if she never existed. Claire and I knew the truth, though. Josh changed schools and never spoke of it again. As for me, I still hear whispers sometimes. In dark hallways. Late at night. And once, I swear I saw a familiar pale face in the reflection of my window. So, if you ever hear stories about your school's old building, don't laugh them off. Sometimes, the past doesn't stay buried. Sometimes it waits for the last day. When no one's paying attention. When no one would think to look. When you're vulnerable, distracted, full of dreams. That's when it strikes.